All right, welcome. This is the supplemental material for the law of compensation. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go over some of the logistics, some of the accounting system of how to make universal basic income possible based on the time banking system. So before I begin, there's a few things I do want to say. I do want to point you in the direction and show you that time banking is a thing. I learned about time banking through Edgar Kahn's system, which is timebanks.org. Edgar Kahn is I kind of think of him as the father and the founder of time banking. He passed away, I believe, last year. So timebanks.org and ourworld.org, that's HOURWORLD, ourworld.org is also another organization that kind of points you in the direction of learning about time banking. What is time banking? And the Karmic Margin Call Project is an Our World time bank. So you might have noticed that at the top of every single conversation, I mentioned that if you are a member of the Karmic Margin Call Project, you can log all of the hours that you are watching this material as a service provided. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide the link to the application to become a member of the Karmic Margin Call Project Time Bank. That's going to be on the page here for Law of Compensation. And I want to say that the reason why I save this information to the closer to the end of our time together is because, in my opinion, accounting for and redistributing global wealth is really the easy part. What the hard part is really building trust in each other and really learning through experience that there really are good people who really want everybody to live a happy life and to find happiness and to be able to work in harmony. So I'm hoping that by this point we're on the 10th session of this natural law series. I hope by now that the people that you've met in these conversations and getting to know me as well, that what we really want is to just help humanity evolve, help humanity transcend the need for greed and war and addictions and really the time banking system and the universal basic income part is really just a measurement of how far we've come in being able to treat each other like equals, to treat each other better. So let me look at my notes before I go on. So I'm going to go into a little bit about the accounting system and also that I think with the emergence of AI, all of this becomes a lot easier. It's just a matter now of helping each other understand, how this works, how to change the value of time. And again, I'm going to mention that if these numbers and these concepts that I'm throwing at you at this time, if you don't get it, if you don't understand it, that's okay. You don't have to understand it. One of the things that I think will be helpful is helping others to look at this material, understand it, and help us to regulate. So when we go through this, I'd like to call attention to the law of rhythm that we did a few months ago, and Kylie Stedman Gomesh's work in kairotic flow. There is a archetype called the regulator. So a lot of this work is really for people who are comfortable in the regulator role. So again, I believe because of the emergence of AI, managing and distributing universal basic income is really easy. The hard part now is having people come to the table and treat each other like equals and with respect and understanding, how to work together. So I think that's everything I need to say for the introduction. Let's go to the presentation. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to what is an EPE number. So EPE stands for Equal Partnership Economy. So when you come into the time bank, the Karmic Margin Call Project time bank, and you're beginning to understand this information, what you are agreeing to is that you and everybody else in the time bank is entitled to the $1 investment that compounds upon itself 20 times, which is $1 million in return. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about the accounting system that makes that possible. It's not magic, it's not advanced intelligence or anything like that. It's really just simple math and really just treating each other as equals. So that's why we call it the equal partnership economy. So, in order to receive an EPE number, there are three things that happen. One is that you join the time bank. And again, I will have a link to the application on the Road Counselor page for the law of compensation. So you join the time bank. You can invest whatever you want whenever you can, but it is a $25 contribution to participate in the financial management portion of this. So I will say that the time bank, is available to anyone. You can use it. It doesn't cost anything to be entered into the financial management system. It's $25 for the contribution, and usually that's for an annual contribution for most time banks. For us, it's to cover 20 hours of service, and I'll go into a little bit about how that works here in a minute. So, three things: you join the time bank, $25 contribution, and then you start exchanging hours. So if you are watching this entire natural law series, you will be earning 20 hours of credit, probably a little bit more than 20 hours of credit just by watching, this presentation. So what happens is after those three things happen, you join the time bank, you put in the $25 contribution, and you're starting to work towards your 20 hours of service credits. You're going to receive an EPE number from me directly at the moment. So one of the things I want to say here is that the biggest help I need right now is people who understand the system and can help me manage the EPE numbers, because that's where we really start to get traction, and that's where you start to see the financial growth of the regenerative economy through time banking. So this is an example of an EPE number, and I'm going to break it down as to what each of the numbers and the letters actually mean, so that we're starting to speak the same language and you start to understand how this is distributed. So the first thing is the O6. Okay, so 6 represents the series number. So I'm going to refer back to the material that we had covered back when we were talking about law of gender and ancestral mathematics, where 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. So in this case, if you receive a tracking number or a EPE number with a 6, that means that is part of Series 6 in the regenerative economy. So at the moment, Series 6 has 64 shares or 64 hours. So hopefully there we go. Now it's highlighted there. So that means that there's only 64 shares at $1 an hour, that you have entered in on. So what that means is that there are 64 shares available. Once those 64 shares are out, and once there are 64 members of the time bank under that series, we go on to Series 7, where there is 128 shares. So the next portion of it is PA, and that just represents the region. So Pennsylvania is the state that I live in. So it's Series 6, and it was issued to someone who is a resident of Pennsylvania. It represents the demographic region. Okay, so I'll have codes for all 50 states in the United States, and also coding for different countries, different nations in the world. The next letters are simply just your initials. It just kind of makes the number more unique to you. So that's my initials, Michael Sheeman. And I will say that this is not an actual EPE number. This is just a sample. We're still working on Series 5 at the moment. So Series 6 will hopefully start to be filled within the next couple months into the next year. Now this sequence here is the timestamp. So if this were one of my original shares, which I started issuing back in 2022 when I started doing the timestamp. This is just the date. So this was issued, if this were a real number, it just carries the timestamp of August 12th, 2022. It starts out with the year, the month, and the day. just the time stamp exactly where that share was issued. And then the last number is the sequence in the series that it is. So there's 64 shares in Series 6. This just represents, because it's number 64, it's the 64th one, and that means it would be the last one before Series 7 is issued. So there would be 64 members of the time bank entered in at Series 6, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up through 64. So again, this is just kind of like a dummy EPE number to demonstrate the system. But whenever you join the time bank, log that 20 hours of service, and also contribute the $25, that's when you get one of these EPE numbers. Okay, so moving on. All right, so the next portion here, I want to talk a little bit about AI because when you're talking about the trillions and into the quadrillions, it's very difficult for humans to process. It's very difficult for humans to handle that massive amount of data. So there are just 3 points of data needed to make universal basic income accessible to everybody if AI is programmed to handle this. So I'm going to make myself disappear here for a moment. Here we go. So that we can go through that list. All right, so the first point of data is the assignment of the EPE numbers. If that is automatic and if that is assigned as people are contributing their time to the time bank and then contributing the $1 per hour or the $1.25 per hour, which is represented in the $25 contribution per 20-hour block, the EPE numbers are assigned. If AI takes over that, then it's pretty equitable. It's pretty easy for everyone to participate in this, and it not be a financial burden. And there's no favoritism, and there's no saturation of the market, nor is there insider trading or anything like that. Because whenever those 20 hours hit, whenever that contribution hits, boom, you get the new EPE number, and it goes through automatically. And then comes the second point of data is really just the amount of credit in the treasury. So for some people, $25 for an annual membership or $25 to cover a 20-hour block, it's nothing. To some people, it's very, very difficult to be able to contribute that amount. So I say to people, if you're having those conversations, you're having those living library conversations, ask others about the $25 loan. So really, the loan is not really to another person so much. It's really kind of loaning the bank, which is what banking is anyway, which is what bonds are. You're just loaning the bank, loaning the bank the credit so that it can accomplish its goals. And the goals of this time bank is to make universal basic income available to everyone. So that's why I think it's important to have that conversation. That if the $25 contribution is difficult for you personally, how to have those conversations. Most of the conversations I've had where if it was about a $25 loan that I would pay back with interest in 2 years, most people say, don't worry about it. Just just take it. I trust you. Let's see what you do with it. In other cases, people will start asking questions. It's like, well, wait a minute. If this $25 contribution that I'm making is going to help you make the return of $1 million, how can I start to understand? And that's where you start to have the conversation that you're not really lending the money to another person. You're lending the money to the bank, and we're all owners of the bank. That is what a decentralized economy is really starting to point towards, that nobody really owns it or can own majority shares. We accumulate shares based on our effort, based on our time that we are dedicating to it. So yeah, that's the second point of data that AI can keep track of, in addition to the EPE numbers. And then finally, it's about the hours served. And my hope is that as more people are understanding this equal partnership economy system, that I can talk to other time banks about this, so that it's not just the karmic margin call projects, method of time banking. We share this with other time banks, and there are time banks all over the world. So again, timebanks.org and ourworld.org are two of the systems that you can look into to be able to start to play in a time bank. So yeah, so the hours served is the third point of data that again I would like to see this happen universally in all time banks. So that's where the $25 contribution makes it at a rate of $1 per hour. All right, so moving on to our final place. Yes, and my daughter is joining me at the moment, and good thing I'm not on video, I am on audio. So yes, I am in a meeting right now. I'm in a meeting that I hope a lot of people will be able to listen to at some point. So I'm going to put myself back on camera here, and maybe my daughter will join me. So some of you have probably seen my daughter Eloise in a previous recording. Okay, good. You stay in the back, and then I'll be back and say hi, and we'll go to bed soon. Okay. So how do we obtain an EPE number? So this is just a review. So remember, an EPE number just measures and recalibrates your block of service, your block of time that you are providing. So yeah, so there it is again. The $25 contribution to the Treasury. And I want to also say that that is never mandatory. Everything is voluntary. So again, you can use the time bank, and you can participate in the time bank, and there is no financial commitments or obligation to it. This is really just let me move myself up here, maybe turn my camera off again. So again, this is just to participate in the financial management portion of it. So I want to make that very clear that you can log as much time as you want in a time bank, and then whenever you can, make that $25 contribution for your 20 hours of service. That's completely up to when you can and if you want to. So that's the beautiful thing about this. Everything is voluntary. So again, if you're logging 20 hours of volunteer service, watching this natural law series will be more than 20 hours. So you've already did your time, so to speak, to be able to earn that $1 million, what we call stewardship account, to help you do what you need to do to be able to survive and thrive in the competitive economy, because we're going to make it collaborative. But the cool thing is, as you're logging these 20 hours that you are serving or that you are providing or volunteering, you're also able to negotiate services from other members of the time bank, because you put an hour in, you receive an hour back. So that's why I like to start with the living library, where you're starting to build relationships. I will say that as a board member and as part of the leadership team of a time bank, I've noticed that time bank hours, doing time bank exchanges, often become difficult because there's these assumptions about what somebody is worth based on the amount of money they make, and the trust is not quite there, because if you do a time bank exchange with someone, you want to trust that they're going to be competent at the services that they're providing. um, that's why we do the living library first, so that you can build the relationship, build the hours as well, before you make those exchanges, of professional services or more of those kinds of services. So again, it's kind of like, for instance, I'm helping a friend create a business plan. And that's the cool thing about this, is that everything that I'm describing here is in a 55-page business plan, if that's something that you're ever interested in seeing. But I was helping my friend create a business plan. So the hours that she had earned, through counseling or coaching, She offered me an hour, to spend time with her and help her create her own business plan. So, yeah, so professional services, can be exchanged when the trust is established. I want to make that perfectly clear as well too. And then you can track the cumulative hours within the entire time bank. So if you get in, say, at a series 6, okay, and you're looking at the periodic updates of the entire time bank, and in this case, it's the karmic margin call project time bank. Once series 7 starts to be issued, that means your $1 turns into $2. Okay, so once it goes into series 8, then the $2 become $4. So just kind of like looking at it in the big picture, once you get up to 20 layers or 20 series away, that's when your $1 looks like a million. Okay, and then that's where it taps out, and that's where it expires and it reaches its maturity. So yeah, so each series issued means the investment doubles.